right? Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash. Double honor to the apostle of the great millstone, who taught us his truth and who rule well. And a mighty shalom to the hopeful elect and 144,000 across the world, So with this lesson, I'm gonna make it a quick one. But this topic has been on my mind lately. So I just thought I'd just hit the button, and just get it out there, to the people. So this topic, we're going to false prophets, because this dude named Prophet Ebo Noah, claiming that, the Lord's going to send a flood, he's pretty much going to flood the world again, which we clearly know if you read the book of Genesis, that the Lord made a covenant, and a promise that he'll never flood the earth again like that, destroying the world, And if you read the scriptures, you know that the whole world is never going to be destroyed again, Babylon the Great is going to be destroyed by nuclear hellfire, as well as the laser beams and the chariots. So let's get this lesson started. So he said the world will end on December 25th. I am not joking. Only my art can save you. But please, I do not ask you start selling your properties. All the animals are already coming. You think it is a joke? Yeah. So let's look at what he's doing. Salakia. This is part 2. I just got a phone call about interviews and stuff like that, and that's the spirit, because that's what the apostles, and that was a great millstone been talking about recently, with the current topic that's going on. But let's get back to the video. Salakia once again. So this dude said the Lord's gonna flood the world again. So let's get the matter of fact, let's look at this video one more time. Okay, we see here him building a boat and painting it. This dude teaching in sackcloth, trying to look the part. Just look at this dude. And we don't know if he Jake or Ham, but either way he going off.
God
and it's really not that important. But the important thing, he putting it out to the world that the Lord's gonna do something that he isn't. I don't know where he got this from, but hey, he thought of it on himself, and that's the judgment of it right there. But let's get that scripture real quick in Genesis real quick, proving that the Lord said he'll never flood the earth again. This is Genesis 9. You make sure. Genesis 9 verse 11. I will establish my covenant with you. Neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of a flood. Neither shall there any more be a flood to destroy the earth. So it's simply put, I could get an NLT if you don't understand it. Genesis 9 and 11 NLT. Yes, I am confirming my covenant with you. Never again will flood waters kill all living creatures. Never again will a flood destroy the earth. So what is this dude talking about? He's clearly a false prophet, and I'm gonna get into this video right here in a second. He's clearly a false prophet. He's prophesying a thing that the Lord has not, put out there. And it's funny because there's always somebody, from the land of Ham, Africa, always trying to say the Lord is gonna do something. And it never comes to pass. Then it always turns out a scam. What was the thing? It was like a month or two ago. I think it was like a month ago. With the rapture. People. I think that was in either Ghana or Nigeria. Where the people was gathering up in the woods. Waiting, to get beamed up. And delivered. But that's not according to the scriptures. That great deliverance is going to happen, after World War III, or simultaneously with World War III, when these missiles come over here, from all these different countries and continents, and the world being into going to be in chaos. You know, the world is not in chaos right now. The MOTB has not been established yet. You know, it's on the rise. You know, we see them. We see Neuralink. You know, starting human trials. You know, we see AI on the rise. You know, we see World War III on the brink of happening, but it still hasn't happened yet. But these people out here is believing, you know, that the world is going to be flooded again. You know, that the rapture is going to happen. You know, but where does it say that in the scriptures? And then look what he did. You know, he got donations. You know, for that flood. You know, for that ark. And now look at him. He spent $89,000 worth on a Class B Benz.
I want to say a very big thank you to all of you.
Look at this dude.
One, for sending. One, for supporting me.
This dude ain't shit. And this what false prophets do as well, though. You know,
I want to say a very big thank you.
They take your money. You know, they get your assemblies, then they take your money, and then they rob to the sunset with your bread.
Did y'all see that they arrested that dude Ebo Noah over the allegations of the flood and building the boats using all the materials?
Look, he under arrest.
They even burned the boat, you know, the Lord and sent it out into the middle of the ocean, you know, y'all. Like, bullshit. Why would these people think this was about to come? Just like earlier this year,
let's
when
get these precepts, and we can end it off. Matthew, give me 1 second because I had it in my notes. Matthew 7:15. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 15. It says, "Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves." So let's get that word ravening. You know, because it pretty much goes into being extortioners. You know, they pretty much come to take your money. You know, at the end of the day, you know, they give out false divinations. You know, and then take your money. Let's see what this word false prophecy is first. It says pseudo prophetess or prophets, fake prophets. It says one who acting the part of a divinely inspired prophet utters falsehoods under the name of a divine prophecies, false prophets. It says pretend foreteller or religious imposter. You know, this dude is an imposter. You know, and he got caught up and got arrested for it. You know, and in the scriptures, literally say in the last days there should be many false prophets. You know, so they all over. You know, but the Lord only gave the 100% truth. You know, to the men of Great Millstone. You know, which don't bring out falsehoods, that don't bring out pseudo prophecies. You see what I'm saying? You know, we come straight out of the book. You know, we're not saying anything that just come off the dome. You know, we are speaking from the spirit. You know, from on high, from Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Let's get that word ravening. You know, because we're not coming after your money. You know, the Lord sent us down here, you know, to do a job. You know, week in and week out, to prophesy the downfall of this place, and you know, and to fish, you know, for his hopeful elect out there. Nothing more, nothing less. You know, it says ravenous. It says an extortioner, a robber. You know, so these people, they just want your money. You know, they extorting you from your money. You know, and you see in the churches. You know, those preachers are false prophets. You know. They send that collection plate about 3-5 times, if not more, depending on the church or the church service, you know. And then come to find out, yeah, your pastor or your preacher, you know, he got a Benz, or he got a Rolls Royce, or he got a jet. Stop believing in these people, you know, that is playing on your mind and your heart, you know, playing on your emotions, you know. And not telling you the 100% truth of what's going on in this place. You know, because the Lord is going to destroy this place. And he is going to destroy certain parts of this world. You know, but it's not going to be by water. You know, it's going to be by the ICBM nuclear missiles. You know, as well as war. you know. And a lot of these prophets, you know, these false prophets, they're not telling you about the mark, you know. That's explained in Revelation 13. You know, that mark that's in your right hand on your forehead, you know, that's connected to the digital currency, that's connected with AI, you know, to make sure that you can't buy and sell unless you have it. You know, they're not bringing that out. But guess who bringing it out week in and week out? The men of Great Millstone, starting with the apostles and elders, you know, on down. Let's get this last precept. I think it was Matthew 13, Salaki, Matthew 24. I still have Revelation 13 on my mind. Matthew 24 and 11. It says, and many false prophets shall arise and shall deceive many. I could get 12 and 13. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold, but he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. Yeah, it said many false prophets shall rise and deceive many. You know, it's a church on every street corner. It's a church on just like the movie they clone Tyrone. I believe that's the movie. Let me make sure. So let me make sure that's the movie title before I butcher it. Yeah, they clone Tyrone. Yeah, the dude was talking about, yeah, we pretty much set up these churches, we set up these liquor stores, these smoke shops, you know, these fast food places to control your mind, you know, to have you in to make you docile, to believe whatever we say, you know, and keep on doing it for a continuous thing, you know, generation to generation, you know. So like I was saying, you know, it's going to be many false prophets, like the scriptures say, all over the world, prophesying deceits, prophesying falsehoods, saying things that's never going to happen, you know, all for the sake of money. All for the sake of money. And the Lord be bugging these people out. Let me get verse 12, and it says, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. You know, these people don't have no respect for each other anymore. You know, people don't say excuse me no more. They don't say thank you, you know, when you hold the door for them, or you do a nice gesture. I'm not gonna say nice. You do a kind gesture for them. You know. Let's get this. Wax cold. Psycho. These people are psycho. You know. And people know what psycho mean. You know, these people are turning crazy, you know, because they don't have the love of the Father and the Son in them. You know, they don't have no respect for each other. And that's why these people, especially Jake, you know, continuously, you know, killing each other, because that's the curses, you know. But let's get this. Verse 13, we can end off with 13. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. You know, enduring what? You know, going through the straits. You know, going through the straight gate. You know, afflicting yourself, doing the things that's not appeasing to your flesh, but appeasing to the spirit. You know, continue, you know, to be a better person, you know, through the spirit. You know, pretty much killing the old man, you know, and then being renewed every day. You know, as well as enduring, you know, the trials that's to come, you know, before us. You know, like I brought out the MOTV, you know, Jacob's trouble, you know, having a lack of food, but leaning on Yahweh by Shem Yahushua to make you whole, you know, to make you Shalakia, the word slipping out my mind, content in that day, you know. And during these things that's to come on the world, you know. Because the Lord literally said, let me get that real quick. It's in Revelations 2 or 3. I get chapter 3 as well. Revelations 2 and 10. Fear none of the things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. Yeah, so if you remain faithful, and be content with what Yahweh Shem Yahushua gives you, hey, they'll give you a crown of life. So the devil shall cast some of you into prison, possibly for 10 days, So we don't know every person's lot. We don't know every person's part in this movie, in this script. 10 days could be 10 days. 10 days could be a year, It could be some months. We don't know yet. But you got to remain faithful to Yahweh Shem Yahushua and keep your integrity, and not take, the Dorito chip, to not fold if you see your family, get deleted in front of you, keeping your head high, because we know we got the victory. These are things to look forward to and things that's going to come to pass. Not what Prophet Ebo Noah said, It's just playing on the minds of the people. And let's get this real quick. Revelations 3 and 10 and 11. It's like 10 through 12. It says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. And that hour of temptation, is the time of the MOTB, when no man can buy or sell or eat, unless you got that mark, And the scriptures say in Revelation 13, small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, it's going to have to take that, to be in that beast system. But verse 11, behold, I come quickly. Hold that which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. Hold fast unto the knowledge and understanding and wisdom that you got from the Heavenly Father, through Yahweh Shai. These mysteries that we got, the things that the Lord, showed us, we got the blueprint. We know that we got the victory. We know that simultaneously as these missiles come, that we're going to be delivered, Lord willing. We know that if you have to get, you have to get put through the guillotine, you're going to be the first ones risen up through with Yahweh Shai, coming back in those chariots. That's the things that we look forward to if worst case scenarios happen. Verse 12, him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my power, and he shall go no more out, and I will write upon him the name of Yahweh, Salaki, of my power, and the name of the city of my power, which is in New Jerusalem, which cometh down out of heaven from my power, and I will write upon him my new name. So the Lord's going to make us stable, He's going to make us stable, in his kingdom. We're going to be key parts, in his kingdom. That New Jerusalem that's coming down, is the elect. The elect men coming down, those new bodies, setting up, the kingdom, first putting the world in subjection in the name of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, and then having them be in servitude to build up, this new world, So Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. Once again, I'd like to give our praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Rakakwadash. Once again, double honors to the apostle of the great millstone who taught the truth and who rule well, and the mighty Shalom to the 144,000, as well as the hopeful elect out there, and the remnant, Lord willing. This lesson was edifying, and on to the next. Abba, Kwame Sharala, Shalom. Soon.